Hey man, all right, in this video we're gonna discuss carb cycling. And there's several different variations of carbohydrate cycling. What I've come up with is a hybrid version. It's a little bit different. Most carb cyclings, the way they're set up, you have extremely high carb days, zero carb days, and moderate carb days. Some actually even do low carb days. So you're eating something different every single day. You're fluctuating carbs like crazy. And there's a lot of things with that method that are beneficial. However, it's hard to sustain, it's hard to meal prep for. So that's one of the reasons I came up with my hybrid version. You're still gonna have 3 different types of days, okay? But I've come up with a way that makes it a little bit easier for you guys to sustain and to incorporate into your daily lives. When we get older, we tend to have a lot of things going on, man. So I wanna make sure that you're gonna be able to incorporate this method. All right, first thing, carb cycling, what it helps you do is build muscle and burn fat simultaneously. It's one of the very few things out there that allows you to do that. Because typically, if you watch the other macronutrient breakdown, my nutrition video, then we've discussed the caloric deficits already, okay? However, if you just go straight off and follow a regular calorie deficit and you're not implementing some of these strategies that I'm gonna be sharing with you, you're still gonna make results, but they're gonna be slow. It's gonna take a long time to get there. The reason I've utilized carb cycling in the past with most of my clients, and myself personally as well, is because I like rapid benefits, rapid results. I'm not a very patient person, all right? So at the end of the day, this is gonna be the quickest method for you guys to get the fat off of your body while still being able to build muscle. So that's the key with this, the main key. Also, a lot of the traditional low carb diets, ketogenic diets, there's a lot of different types of low carb diets out there. Atkins diet, which is a version of ketogenic. Those actually tend to lower your T3 levels, your thyroid hormone, okay? So you don't want to lower those because that's actually gonna lower your BMR rate, your basal metabolic rate. Again, referring back to the other video. The basal metabolic rate is the amount of calories you need to maintain the status quo. So if that number is high, for instance, we used a 2,500 calorie example, then you can consume 2,500 calories every day without gaining weight, all right? However, you start messing with your T3 levels, you start lowering that basal metabolic rate, that number is gonna go down to possibly 2,200, 2,000, depending on how long-term your diet is, because that's the difference with all of these diets. They're designed to trick your body, all right? So once you start lowering that basal metabolic rate, then it's gonna be hard to lower the scale, all right? Lower the fat from your body, get the fat off your body, because you're gonna have to consume even less calories or create even more of an exercise expenditure. All right, so that's the whole reason I developed this in the first place. So you're gonna have 0 carb days, okay? Here's the thing with my 0 carbs. Again, if you have not watched my other video on nutrition and macronutrient breakdown, make sure you watch that. It will give you further clarification on what I'm about to touch on. 0 carbs with all my programs are 0 complex or sugary carbs, all right? You're still gonna be getting carbohydrates from your fibrous variety, your veggies, your cauliflower, your asparagus, all of these things, green leafy salads, all of those are full of fiber, and you can eat those every day with every meal, all right? Fibrous carbs. So when I say 0 carbs, it's going to be no complex carbs, the starchy variety, and no sugars at all. So when you see 0 carb days, basically your goal is to eliminate those completely. All right, so let me give you an idea of how these are set up. If you've seen my programs, you'll see PPP days, all right? And basically what that is a pre-workout carb, a post-workout carb, and then a 1 hour post-workout carb. All right, so PPP. That basically post. And this 1 hour is kind of a touchy subject. It depends on if you're intermittent fasting, if you're in a huge caloric deficit. There's a lot of variables to that, but basically what I want you to do is You're gonna eat there's 3 carb meals that you get on your PPP days. So the first one is the pre-workout carb. So that carbohydrate can be a complex carbohydrate, even a fruit, all right, which is more of a sugary carb. So you can do either one of those on your pre-workout carb meals. The post is exactly the same as that one. You can do another sugary carb if you want to, post-workout fruit like a banana. So that's a good time to replenish your muscle glycogen levels. And so those are the 2 important ones that are bracketing your workout. Now the third post-workout carb meal, even if it's 3 hours after, okay, if you've only got 1 more meal in the day, depending on when you work out, and basically all I'm telling you to do is 3 of the meals should have complex carbs. And of those 3 meals that you're getting complex carbs, they need to be bracketed around your workout. The reason I say 2 posts is because you don't want 2 pre's. You don't want to do a carbohydrate for breakfast, a carbohydrate for lunch, then work out, and then have 1 more carbohydrate meal. So hopefully that makes sense. Basically 1 carbohydrate meal prior to your workout, and then 2 after your workout. That's why you see pre, post, post. Okay, a lot of people have been confused, and I did not know that until I've gotten some questions, okay, about the 1 hour post-workout window, because you're going to hear a lot of scientific studies saying it doesn't really matter as long as you get a certain amount throughout the day. That's all that matters. Okay, well, the way I designed my programs, the way we're doing our carbohydrate hybrid version, it does matter. Okay, so if you're following my programs, that's why these are designed specifically for the 2 post-workout carb meals after your workout and the 1 pre. Here's the thing. When you're doing your complex carbs on these PPP days, you're not just doing the carbs by themselves. You're always going to add a protein, a lean protein source. So you're going to want to make sure you're getting a protein with each of these carbohydrate meals, and even fats, some essential fats. The essential fats aren't necessary and they're not completely required. However, most meals you're going to consume are going to have some fats in them. So I just want to clarify that it's okay. It's okay to get all 3 macros with all 3 of these meals. Now here's the thing, if you are eating 4 meals a day or 5 meals a day, depending on what plan you're following, only these 3 on the PPP days have complex carbs or sugary carbs, okay? The other meals are gonna be standard meals as if you were doing a 0 carb meal. So you're gonna get your lean protein sources, you're gonna get your essential fats and fibrous carbs if you want, but no complex or sugary carbs with those other 2 meals. So hopefully that makes sense on what that is, because you're gonna see the PPP days, you're gonna get your 0 carb days. Again, your goal here is you're shooting for, you'll notice when I say 0 carbs, but I will put 50 grams of fibrous carbs. And this number doesn't have to be precise. Don't think you've got to calculate your fiber, making sure you're getting your 50 grams. That just gives you a rough estimate, and it gave me an estimate when I'm calculating your overall macros, all right, your total calories. So basically, 0 carb means zero complex, 0 sugar. All right, 0 carb days, 0 sugar, 0 complex, and 50 grams from fibrous carbs is okay. So if you went above 50, then that's fine as well. Basically, the fiber puts you in a negative energy balance. So it's okay to offset some of your calories with even more fiber. So fiber is okay. I don't even count fiber. I'm just wanting you to know that, hey, you're saying 0 carbs, but I'm noticing that broccoli and asparagus and cauliflower have carbs in them. So how does that work? So I'm clarifying that now. Don't worry about those. Those carbs are okay. They're fibrous carbs, so don't even worry about those numbers. All right, so the third day you're gonna see is a CR day, which is a refeed day. All right, hopefully I can get down here and write that. Carb refeed day. So basically your carb refeed day, you're gonna consume 50% of your total calories on this day from carbohydrates. Now here's the cool thing. This day is all about replenishing your glycogen levels, which again, if you're not familiar with that, then go back and watch the nutrition video because I touch on that within the carbohydrate section. But replenish those glycogen levels, your leptin and ghrelin levels, your hormones that tell you if you're hungry or if you're satisfied. There's a lot of hormonal benefits to this carb refeed day, which is why it's in there at least once a week. So you're gonna wanna make sure you're doing this, okay? You don't wanna be the type of person, and I have trained a lot of those people. Man, you're making great progress. You're loving the zero carb days, the moderate carb days, which are the PPP days, and you feel so good. You don't really wanna do the carb refeed. You're afraid it's going to put more fat on your body. Guess what? The carb refeed day, if you were to weigh yourself the very next day, more than likely, you're gonna gain weight, okay? You're gonna gain weight on the scale. Don't focus on that weight because you're eating in a caloric deficit when you're doing these programs. You're not gaining any fat. So if you see the weight on the scale move up after a carb refeed day, basically what happens is you're replenishing your glycogen levels, which is extremely important for being successful with these programs that I'm creating. You're gonna be successful, but this is gonna help you create optimal and rapid success. So here's what happens. Glycogen levels are getting full. Muscle glycogen is full, you're replenishing your liver glycogen, and when you have glycogen in your body, you're holding in more water. Glycogen stores water, and it's not like sub-Q water to where you're feeling bloated and you're like, man, I've gained too much fat, I've got all this water I'm holding on to. No, it's pulling water into the muscle glycogen, so it's gonna help your muscles stay fuller. You're gonna look harder, you're gonna look better, you're gonna look and feel better, okay? You're gonna have both benefits. So that's why these refeed days are extremely crucial. And not just for the energy, because what you're doing is you're replenishing your muscle glycogen, which is gonna help you that next week. Have another successful week. It's gonna help you with repair as well. So it's gonna help give you energy to fuel these intense workouts, but it's gonna help repair your body as well, which is another key benefit. And again, I don't wanna go too deep into what carbohydrates can do and can't do. So go back to my nutritional video and check that out if you haven't already. And there's a lot greater breakdown there. But basically that's kind of what I'm trying to do is show you how these are structured, all right? What the PPP days are, pre, post, and zero carb days from zero complex, zero sugar. 50 grams of fiber or even higher is fine. If you don't hit 50 on fiber, you're still gonna be okay. And your refeed day, 50% of total calories that day should come from complex carbs, even sugar. That's the thing I want you to focus on. I don't want you to go and combine a lot of sugar and fat. For instance, one of the benefits of this day, if you've been craving some type of ice cream, all right? You just have to have ice cream, man. Well, go out and find a low-fat variety. You don't want ice cream that has 30 grams of sugar per serving, but then 10 to 12 grams of fat. You don't really want to combine the sugars and the fats. So if it's a low-fat version, then go ahead and use those sugars in the ice cream to help get to that 50% of your total calories. That's actually okay, all right? Preferably, you want your carbs to come from rice, potatoes, oatmeal, quinoa, beans. All of these things have really good carbohydrates in them. But if you do have to have a reward day, people call them cheat days, cheat meals. I call them reward for working so hard. If you want a reward meal, then have it with one of these meals on your refeed day, okay? That's gonna make a big difference. The only thing I ask is to don't go over on the fat. So since you're raising and elevating these carbohydrates, especially if you're adding some sugars, then focus on lowering those fat grams. Protein is fine, keep protein stable, but basically where all the variables come from are your carbohydrates and your fats. Higher the carbohydrates are, the lower the fats need to be there. But all right, one last thing I'm gonna show you. All right, hopefully you've got all of that and all of that makes sense. The last thing I'm gonna show you with this is the setup. All right, we're looking at, it's not erasing very well. If we're doing the Ripped After 40 program, if you're doing the Ripped After 40 program, let me show you how the setup is, because I use this hybrid version with all of my programs. The difference usually is you may have 1 or 2 refeed days. You may have a couple PPP days. That is what may change. However, let's go day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are days. I don't want to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because some people start different days of the week. You have different schedules. You got to make this fit your schedule, because it's got to be something that works for you. And we're all unique. We have different jobs. Some work nights. Some, their weeks start on a Tuesday, all right? So it just kind of depends on your days off and all of those things, or how you're structuring your workouts. But these should they coincide with the workout days. So workout day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Basically, day 1 is going to be 0 carbs, all right? And then we're gonna do back-to-back moderate carb days. So that's how that is. Hopefully you can see that. I noticed I didn't erase that very well. But, and then we're gonna go 2 more 0 carb days. 0 carb. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. I'm just making sure that's right. And then we're gonna do a big carb refeed day there, and then another 0 carb. All right, so if you follow the traditional work schedule, then you'll notice Monday through Sunday. So Sunday and Monday are back-to-back days of 0 carbs. However, the Saturday will be a high reward day, a high refeed day. So that's basically how this structure is. But make sure this structure follows your workout plan. So that's the other thing I want you to focus on. Go back and see if you're doing ripped after 40, you're working out 4 days a week. So find out where these workouts are and plug them in based on the days you start. And the reason I say that is because I've designed it based on days and not necessarily days of the week. For instance, if you're starting on a Monday, then it would be pretty easy. Monday, Tuesday workouts, and you're gonna be off. So that's kind of how that structure is. However, if your work week is different and you start your work week every day on a Saturday, Sunday, then off Monday, then structure these days to match the workouts, if that makes sense. But all right, so that's basically the reason I've done the hybrid version of my carb cycling. Great benefits. It's the best way, the fastest way to get fat off of your body while still being able to maintain muscle mass, which is what most other diets don't do. And that's the difference with this. This is not a diet at all. A keto is a diet. Atkins is a diet. South Beach is a diet. All of these things are diets. This is just an eating strategy. You're still getting all 3 macronutrients. You're just strategizing and doing them at the right and opportune times to make sure you're still making great progress, rapid progress, optimal progress, and specifically for us older men. Because at the end of the day, that's why you'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4 0 carb days, because now that we're older, we don't require as much energy. We don't need as much fuel from carbohydrates. You still need carbohydrates to get all the other benefits that they provide, but you don't need as many grams of carbohydrates. So that's where this structure comes in, and that's why it's so important and it's been so successful over the years. But hopefully all this makes sense to you, man. Again, we got several other videos on nutrition and how to meal prep for this, because like I mentioned briefly earlier, this actually is fairly easy to prep for. It may seem really confusing, especially if you've never seen it before, you haven't tried to implement it yet. It may be, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. That's going to be way too complicated. It's not complicated. Check out my other videos. I will show you some simple tips that you can do to implement this and get started successfully. But man, that's all I got for this video. God bless.